We're going to speak to our next guest for today. Roz Scott is with us online. He's a freelance journalist. Roz, good afternoon. Peace be upon you. Welcome to the Draft Time Show.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
What impact do you think Brexit will have on the health and social care workforce?
Well, all your speakers have had some facts and figures at their fingertips, and a few from me. Channel 4 did a dispatches programme back in March, and they said that the NHS workforce is increasingly international. There's 1.2 million staff, 140,000 are from abroad, and 60,000 of them are from Europe. But they also said that there's a 90% reduction in applicants to the NHS from the EU. So I think the situation is complex, and as you said before, there's issues like the devaluation of the pound and that kind of thing, as well as the Brexit issue, which is threatening to tip the NHS into crisis mode. I mean, I'm concerned about the pressures the NHS was under last winter, and how those are going to get even more and more difficult. And I think that there's a little bit of jiggery-pokery going on, actually.
Yeah.
Channel 4 said that Conservative plans would create a £4.5 million bill to rehire local doctors and nurses and other support workers in the NHS from the EU after 2019. And one of the things they're doing is planning to double the immigration skills charge to £2,000 per year for each doctor, nurse and health worker brought into the NHS or any other company from abroad by 2022. Now, that was in the Conservative manifesto, I think. So, there's it's dangerous to, allow people to walk away and then kind of charge others to come in. It's not a very honest way of going about business, I think. And, obviously it leaves the EU nationals feeling, very let down, really. In Brighton, I've got some figures from Brighton. There's full figures if you want to check on the Channel 4 survey that was done for dispatches in March. But in Brighton, it said that over more than half of the doctors, Brighton's where I live, and 42% of nurses from the EU are considering leaving. And then Channel 4 crunched the numbers nationally and worked out 25,000 NHS workers could leave because of Brexit, which is similar to the figure that your other guests gave. And where I live, that means 436 staff, including 61 doctors and 171 nurses.
Wow.
So, this picture is replicated across the country. And I think the consequences are massive, and I'm just not sure that the government's really got its head around them.
I mean,
there's so many issues to do with Brexit that the government's got to worry about, and the NHS is one of them, but unfortunately it's not the only one.
But it's a very, very crucial one. I mean, we are talking about health and care of people
absolutely.
here. So keeping that in mind, Roz, some people say that EU nationals who are currently working in health and social care sector, they should be guaranteed a right to stay. I mean, we haven't spoken about the fact that they will be kicked out, and I'm hoping, I'm guessing, I'm very confident that this is not going to happen, regardless of the fact that if you work in the health or social care sector or not. But, they also say that, post-Brexit immigration rules should also allow NHS and social care providers to continue to recruit from EU countries without any charge, without any of that what you've just mentioned, if they are unable to fill vacancies with our local resident workers. What do you think about that?
Well, I just think that they shouldn't be leaving in the first place. But if people vote with their feet because of Brexit, because they feel unwelcome, because of the xenophobia and everything, that it's in danger of unleashing, then in a sense, what the government's doing is getting rid of one lot and then bringing in new people, and I just think it's a nonsense. I think they should be guaranteed a right to stay. Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. And I think that that people from the EU are really valuable, not least because they speak the language often. There's data yesterday, the Health Service Journal did an interview with the NHS England Chief Executive Simon Stevens yesterday, and he said that a significantly expanded industrial-scale international recruitment programme was needed to increase the likelihood of meeting the 5,000 GP target. And he basically said that the existing target is 500 to ease the GP workforce problems. And he said that that they need to recruit 2,000 GPs, so it's 4 times as many as they thought. And they're going to do that from the EU, Australia and New Zealand. But he said, they're doing this instead of giving assurances to EU staff currently working in the NHS that they're welcome in this country. And I think that's really short-sighted. And it's causing a lot of uncertainty, and at times it's breaking up families. It's tearing families apart, parents having to apply for residency, and if they don't get it, they might think they have to go home, and then they've got adult children born and brought up in Britain and married to British people. It's just a nonsense. We are European. I think it's like creating a false boundary.
Yeah.
A false border.
Economically speaking, it's also not very smart. It's like you have a bike, you disassemble the bike, you send it off, and you think about, how to get a new bike then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you charge people for the new bike. It just makes me angry. I think the whole thing is really short-sighted. And I feel very sorry for I've met lots of people in Brighton from the European Union, and they are just devastated. The personal impact of
absolutely.
Worse is xenophobia, isn't it?
Chris was saying that too. EJ as well.
Yeah.
Lastly, Ros, do you think the government is giving proper attention to the impact Brexit could have on our NHS, or do you think that there should be more consideration on this issue?
I think we need to approach the issue in a completely different way. The government, I think the government needs to statistically measure the income generated by migrants, specifically those from the EU, and specifically those people working in the NHS, to understand the true value of their contribution.
Yeah.
And I think the debate needs to be reframed in this way, because I had a look online and I found all sorts of stats, but most of them are about how much EU nationals cost the NHS, and if any of this money is recouped from the country of origin. So I think in making the case for freedom of movement, data urgently needs to be collected about how much money is generated from the NHS and the British economy, and how much the British economy is going to lose if they lose these people. And obviously there's going to be a delay while they get new people. I just think that, the EU nationals are voting with their feet. The government needs to acknowledge this, apologise, and take steps to prevent an even greater exodus of highly trained NHS staff that the government will then need to replace. It's just short-sighted.
But if you look at it from the government side of view, they never said that you will have to leave the country. It's people assuming that they will have to leave the country, and last year we had the same situation, and then nothing really happened in that one year.
Well, the government hasn't given them the assurances they needed. I think, I'm a Scot, but I'm also a British person, and I don't know what the emotional impact of Brexit feels like. But I wrote a blog about it, and it's quite interesting. There's an English woman who I spoke to that day, and she said, this is in my archive in February, I don't know when multiculturalism became such a dirty word. Cultural diversity should be something we want to bring richness. We want to bring richness into life. It's completely bonkers that people don't want it. And then she said, I challenge you to find me an indigenous Brit. Scaremongering and xenophobia is just all wrong. And I think the tabloid press have got a lot to answer for as well.
Yeah.
Some of their headlines and and the way they present statistics.
Short-sighted. Freelance journalist Ross Scott, thank you very much for joining us today, and do send us that blog. We'll make sure to tweet it out as well. I would like to read that myself too.
Super. We'll do all the best.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.